The stock market has been blasting up nonstop over the past couple weeks. And this week we have an FOMC event. In this video, we're going to go over some great plays for this week and important news you need to know about. So Tom, we're not going to waste any time. What's going on in the market this week?
Yeah, so there's some pretty big stuff. Like you said, Mike, the FOMC minutes is actually going to be coming out on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's probably going to be the biggest event coming out this week, besides just all the retail sales coming out with earnings as well, which is also going to be pretty big coming up. But like I said, we do have that FOMC minutes meeting. Now, what's been very nice, Mike, is over the past couple weeks, we've actually been seeing a lot of data points coming in to help boost investor confidence that the central bank can help stabilize the economy even more here. And whenever I look at some of these numbers, like last week, we just had the inflation rate come out and it came in way lower than expectations. They were expecting 9.1%. We came in at 8.5%. So it looks like the Fed's raising interest rates is actually starting to show that inflation is actually slowing down a little bit. So this is great to see. Hopefully the FOMC minutes comes out a little bit more positive than people are hoping for. I will say though, Mike, over the next couple FOMC meetings coming up over the next couple months, hopefully we keep seeing these inflation numbers drop, and maybe they will start to maybe at least slow down the current pace that they've been raising rates at. So as we can see though, the SPY was blasting up last week with those good inflation numbers coming out, and overall it just created some amazing breakouts in the market. So yeah, we have another big event with that FOMC minutes this week, but honestly, Mike, these data points that have been coming out are just so good, just like those inflation numbers last week.
Yeah, so let's go back to the FOMC minutes topic just for a second. For those of you who don't know, basically what's going to happen on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to see basically like a summary of what the Federal Reserve was thinking about in their previous meeting. So basically it's just a summary of the previous meeting, but we get more data and more information on why they made the decision they made and just what they're looking at overall. This is important because seeing inside the minds of the people who are making the decision on how much to increase rates can tell us a lot about the economy and just their sentiment overall, which at the end of the day has a gigantic impact on, the economy and the stock market overall, because interest rates affect almost everything in the market. So keep that in mind. Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time is the time to watch.
Yeah, it really is. It's going to be a pretty big day there. And then Wednesday, we also have some pretty big data coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time in the morning, where we're going to see some good retail sales numbers come out. Hopefully these end up being pretty good, Mike, because as we talked about earlier in the video, we also have some pretty big earnings coming out with some big retailers this week. So Tuesday, we have Walmart, Home Depot. Wednesday, we have Target, Lowe's, and then Thursday, we're going to have Kohl's, BJ's, Ross, and After Hours. So we're seeing a lot of big retailers report. Even on Friday, Foot Locker, Buckle, those are some pretty big companies. So keep your eyes out for the retailers. Obviously, as we know, Mike, Walmart, Home Depot, and stocks like that have been pretty influential ever since COVID happened. If we look at that daily chart for Walmart, it performed really well initially after COVID. Now it's been actually dipping down quite a bit. Some people have been speculating Walmart might try to fill this gap here back to the upside. So hopefully these earnings come out pretty well. Same thing with Target, Mike. They've also been kind of dipping down the past couple months.
True that. So, Tom, looking at the earnings calendar, what's going to be your top watched stock for the week?
Honestly, I think I'm going to pick one that might throw some people off. So I'm actually going to be watching Cisco quite a bit on Wednesday after close, ticker CSCO. I think that's going to be a pretty big one to watch. This has been another company that's been also dipping down a lot over the past few months. They're also starting to fill this gap back up on their daily chart. I think they could have a pretty good move, maybe up to like 47.50 or something like that if the earnings go well. But nonetheless, I'll be watching Cisco, Mike. Is there anything maybe you're looking at specifically?
Yes, definitely. And that's Walmart. So the reason I'm watching Walmart more than any other earnings release this week is because normally in times of high inflation and just like tough times on the consumer, you normally see Walmart doing better than most companies out there because people like it's almost it's almost like a necessity, right? And especially when times get tough, like Walmart is normally one to benefit, but that's not the case this year. Walmart at highs was at $160, and that was in April. And since then, it had lows of 117, and now it's right around 132. So I'm just very interested to see how they're doing, because it's kind of unusual to see Walmart almost like suffering a little bit in this sort of economic environment. So I'm just curious to see how they're doing.
Yeah, me too, especially coming off of like those pandemic numbers. Like as we can see, Walmart was really exploding there for a couple years before we started giving a lot of those gains back. So hopefully those numbers come out pretty well, Mike. And I think that the best thing about Walmart's earnings, that it might also give us a really good insight into how consumers are spending right now. Obviously, if Walmart reports that they're seeing an uptick in certain parts of their sectors, like I know sometimes people are kind of buying more of like cheaper food sometimes whenever the economy is doing better, people might try to like buy more expensive products. So I'm curious to see exactly what they report there, because I'm really going to be looking at it as more of like more of for consumer spending levels more than anything else. But yeah, hopefully it does show that the economy is doing pretty well. And what I've really liked, Mike, is that over the past few weeks, we've seen other companies like Amazon and other companies like that kind of give us an insight that consumers have been doing pretty well. Like Amazon had pretty good numbers. And I know even their Prime Day, they sold a ton of products during a time when people would maybe think consumers would spend less.
True that. All right, Tom, do we have any other important things we need to know heading into the week?
Yeah, there's nothing too big here. I will say one big thing is that the House actually passed the Inflation Reduction Act. So this is actually pretty big. There is also some stuff with U.S. lawmakers arriving in Taiwan as those tensions are simmering. I don't think this will end up being too bad, but just watch out. It could be a black swan event. I will say, though, this Inflation Reduction Act passing is a pretty big piece of news here. And Biden's expected to sign the legislation in the coming days. The Senate already passed this. Now the House just passed it by a vote of 220 to 207. All Democrats backed it and all Republicans opposed it. So that should go to show you, I guess, how bipartisan the bill was. But nonetheless, it's a $430 billion package. We're going to see a lot of money go into, I guess, clean energy. So definitely be on the lookout for this. It says $369 billion will be in climate and energy policies. And then it's also going to allocate $64 billion towards the Affordable Care Act program, or as people like to call it, Obamacare. So just be on the lookout. There is a lot of stuff in this bill that's interesting. There's a lot of different taxes and stuff like that coming out that's going to help fund some of this. But nonetheless, Mike, it's pretty big. Honestly, I don't really see it as like, reducing inflation too much. If anything, I think they're spending a little bit too much money.
Yeah, so interesting stuff there. But yeah, Tom, I think it's now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have PENN to the upside.
Yeah, this one's nice. I'm really glad to see them continuing to fly up here, but go ahead and make them break above 37.85, which is right around that high of Friday. If they break that in pre-market, then watch $38 even.
All right, there we go. With the next one, we have Disney, also to the upside.
This one was huge with their earnings last week, Mike. I'm really hoping to see a nice continuation up here. Go ahead and make them break out above 122. And if they break that, watch for an upper resistance of 123.50. That could be a pretty good scalp there. But like I said, coming off of those earnings last week, Mike, this one's probably going to be a pretty crazy play.
True. All right, and then with the last one, we have Microsoft, but we need both ways on this one.
All right, so yeah, Microsoft really blasted up Friday. Go ahead and make them break out above 292.35 for a big move up on Monday. Now, if they do end up falling back under the 291 support tomorrow morning, then watch it for puts to the downside. But so we're watching 292.30 to the upside and 291 to the downside.
Sounds good. So you guys heard Tom with Microsoft. And then with Disney and Penn, we are watching those two stocks. And if they break above the levels Tom listed, then we are looking at them for a day trade to the upside. but we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, and that is Mr. Oates in the Stocked Up Discord. Huge shout out to Mr. Oates. You've been in the chat for over 2 years now, and you've recently shown a lot of activity lately. So huge shout out to you. Thanks for being a great member of the community. Tom and I really appreciate you. But Tom, do you have any favorite setups or anything you are watching for the week?
Yeah, I mean, there was some amazing movers last week, Mike, across the growth sector overall. Some of our favorite stocks like DraftKings, Teladoc, Penn Gaming, Fastly, Zoom even. A lot of these stocks were actually doing pretty well. Zoom actually only really did too well Friday. I will say that one was a little bit lagging, but nonetheless, like DraftKings, Meta, stocks like that were just straight up exploding. So I'm really going to watch for a nice continuation up this week. But at the same time, just keep it in the back of your minds, guys, that this market could start to slow down or turn over a little bit sometime soon. We're actually starting to see the SPY break out in a huge way. I could not believe the breakout that we saw on Friday with the SPY. It initially seemed like on Thursday we were going to have a pretty big slowdown to end the week, but that recovery back up and breakout was amazing. I will say we're on a pretty good uptrend. There's a lot of momentum, so definitely watch it, but there's also big resistance on the SPY. I see right around 430. I think that's a huge level. We've seen multiple rejections there in the past. I actually just threw a nice resistance level on the chart so you guys could see it there. But yeah, just be careful. I feel like, Mike, we will eventually start to slow down, but definitely take advantage of the momentum while you can.
There we go. And if you guys are looking to capitalize off of this market movement and volatility, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. You get access to our bot that does a great job with day trades. You get access to swing trades, a bunch of other custom bots, an amazing community, and just a bunch of other tools, especially for short-term trading. Definitely check it out. You can cancel it anytime, and it's an awesome program, especially if you trade options. It's definitely worth trying out at least for a month. There's so many great tools available to you, and it's just awesome overall. So definitely check it out. It's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. If you use coupon code 2022, you can save around $41 off your first month. Besides that, I'm very excited heading into this week. The stock market has been doing amazing lately, and we have some decently important data coming out later in the week with the FOMC. So I'm excited. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the markets in the comments down below. And besides that, let's have a great week.